Hey guys, it's Liv here, bringing you guys another video. This is one I really didn't want to have to make, but as you can see on the screen, we have 20-minute timer back. Let's talk about it. If you enjoy the content, leave a like on the video and subscribe. On the road, obviously, just for Scarlet Violet grinding, and I guess sadly this is the first vid that we somehow are making on this, which is a little disappointing, I'll be honest. I was really looking forward to a better timer, or at least not a worse timer, because for those who don't know, while Sword and Shield had this same sort of timer, at the very least they had a LAN option, which, as the one who actually, shoutouts to Bean, aka Full Life Games, by the way. Bean was the one who helped me personally find the timer. We both worked on this together. Obviously, these screenshots from Bean setting up the rules for our particular battle, which I guess somehow we were the first people to do this. I don't know why, but we were. Bean, for those who don't know, long-term fans of the channel probably remember the name Full Life Games, or Bean, is the one who made the timer fix for BDSP and Sword and Shield for battles that we have up on the channel. You can find them in the Wifi vid we did with Owen, the Rillaboom Fairmost thumbnail we did with Owen. You could find them in a couple BDSP games, I think, as well. I know Bean's done the BDSP ones. I don't remember if I did any on BDSP with this timer. But the point being, that's not the point. The point being, though, is that Bean is responsible for fixing the timer, actually, in 2 previous games now, and truthfully probably will again in this gen. However, that obviously doesn't really affect a lot of you guys, because sadly this is really only accessible to people who are playing battles on emulator, or for people with hacked consoles. This isn't like in last gen, where in theory with Sword and Shield you could LAN set up a rule set and custom timer with Bean's patch, and then just send it over LAN, and as long as you never use that rule set online, you were fine. You can't even really do that this gen, from what I can tell. Now again, in theory, this could be fixed with day one, and I don't want to be the person, you know, responsible for making it seem like singles is doomed and competitive, because in theory it could be fixed. But I would say, if this really was the intention, how could Bean and I even get a battle in the first place off of LAN? I mean, maybe the goal was the fact that no one would be stupid enough to connect to Nintendo servers, which I guess maybe that's fair. And I will say that VGC could in theory still obviously have benefited from LAN, so maybe they bring it back, but I wouldn't act like it's very likely in my opinion. And I solely say this because of the fact that you could very easily give the local match battles instead and give link codes for those, and then from there just have VGC work that way. Now, I'm not 100% sure if this is like the fix that VGC is going for. Maybe LAN is coming back. I don't know. I was not able to initialize it through any of the old methods, whether it's through the options menu, through in-game just doing the button combination, because there were specific button combinations you were supposed to do. It was LR and then push in and pull down on your left joystick. None of those worked. Again, maybe they changed it. Who knows? It is a new console. It's a new gen entirely. This could very well just be something that maybe we're blowing out of proportion. I know for a fact that when Bean has a moment, he'll probably dump the exe file and try and get a verification for everyone. But as of right now, this seems to be the case. So at the very least, it already seems like, and I wasn't even planning on covering this aspect of it, but sadly people beat me on Twitter to seeing my reply, which they didn't notice last night, by like a minute before recording this. So I guess a lot of people are doom and gloom about singles. I don't know if we need to go that route yet, though, I'll be honest. This seems like a lot more offensive of a meta. For one, it seems like a lot of recovery moves are cut down to 8 PP. I can verify for a fact that Rest had 5 PP still, which was, I believe, shown in a trailer already. But even still, it seems like people are saying that other recovery moves have been as well. On top of this as well, we have such an offensive mechanic, maybe singles will be fine. Now, to be fair, I will also like to point out here that a lot of the Pokemon currently in the format, from what we've seen, to be fair, they all seem like really offensive Pokemon. We're missing stuff like, for example, Ferrothorn and Clefable and all those, you know, all these really heavy stall type Pokemon. Now, it's not to say that Stall's inviable. We still have Blissey Pex, you know, Stall will be fine. They'll have Corviknight as well. There's no concern about Stall, but it's going to be a lot harder to really make it work, especially in this sort of setting. So I don't know if singles will necessarily be doomed. It's just at a disadvantage. And I do think it's something we kind of need to address, because this was 3 years on Sword and Shield where we didn't really have a strong Wi-Fi format, and is there maybe a better option that we could do? Now, not saying that we need to all switch to emulator and use the timer patch. It'll probably be out within a week of the game, if I had to be honest. Maybe within a month at most. And that's not to put pressure on Bean. Take as long as you need. You're a miracle worker with this. Take whatever time you need. But even still, I do want to quickly show, just to verify, by the way, we do have 4 other timer formats. Bean and I did go through all of these to make sure. And the first one, again, 20-minute timer, 20-minute timer, 20-minute timer, 20-minute timer, and that's just in order. I know that, to be fair, I did drag it to a very unflattering portion of Twitter, to say the least, to where you basically only saw the rule set, but you can kind of see it on here. I'll actually zoom in a little bit more. I'm literally live recording this right before I go into work, so I'm sorry for the very low editing. But you can kind of see you can kind of make out the text where you could see at least where the screenshots were in particular. But Bean did go through all the rule sets to verify that this was the case. There's only 5 of them as well, but again, Pokemon's done other rule sets. There could be, in theory, maybe something when some sort of challenge format goes out, and maybe some sort of timer format goes where it's only just timer, or something else happens. These things aren't exactly too out there. However, what I will say is I wouldn't expect this to be a day 1 fix. I would argue that there is more of a chance of this being fixed when the actual battle spot ladder opens in December than of a day 1 fix for this. And I think it's just something that we kind of need to accept. Singles probably isn't going to get a good timer again, and it seems like we're going to be kind of stuck on this. So I guess the question is, are we going to stick with singles on Wi-Fi, or are we just going to move to Showdown at this point? Because it doesn't seem like this is going to be something that's fixed on the Switch. At the very least, not likely. It could be fixed. Again, don't want to make this seem like I'm completely doom and gloom. But even still, I'm probably going to be sticking with singles Wi-Fi. If anyone in the comments down below, you're sticking with singles Wi-Fi, let me know. I know this obviously isn't going to impact everyone, and again, I know it's not news that everyone wanted to hear, but I did think as a channel that is going into Scarlet and Violet, planning to upload a ton of Wi-Fi content, and make the most of this gen at the very least for a singles Wi-Fi setting, I felt like it was at least a good thing to bring up. Now, I know that I've also had a fair share of people just flat out telling me I was wrong on this, telling me that, you know, day 1 patch is going to fix it, this isn't accurate. I've had people telling me a whole wide array of things. Sadly, though, I think it's just honestly people trying to cope with the fact that it's an even worse situation than Sword and Shield. Because at least with Sword and Shield, we had options that were accessible to everyone to change these methods, even if they were a bit of a hassle. And we don't really have that anymore. Now, I will say, for anyone with a hacked console or who can get this game running on stable emulator, for one, if you have it running a stable emulator, hit me up because I want to get it stably running an emulator. I have a hacked console. I was able to run it that way to test this with Bean. Shout out to Bean, by the way. But I was not able to get it stably running an emulator. But if you do, let me know, and I'm fine to do a battle. I was going to say, though, because when that patch does come out, if anyone is interested in getting a 60-minute timer experience for Wi-Fi, let me know. I would love to have that with you as a channel that loves to focus on Wi-Fi. At the very least, for my casual Wi-Fi content, I'm not going to hide that I'm doing a 60-minute timer battle, because in the end, all I care about is the fact that Wi-Fi looks a lot nicer, and just getting the content for you guys. It's just meant to be content that you guys get to experience to show how good the metagame is. And because I think it's going to be a great metagame personally. I think the Pokemon and the new mechanics and some of the new buffs that have been coming out as well for stuff, which I won't go into this video. I want to save that for when we get a final list, which is kind of why I also pushed this video to the front of mine, instead of going over a data mine list where we'd have half the, well, not even half, like a quarter of the Pokemon stats, a few random abilities newly revealed, and maybe a bunch of typings for a lot of stuff, and that's about it. I'm going to save that, so I'm not going to go into any of the new buffs, but I do look forward to making that content and looking forward to showing these new Pokemon in game with you guys. So while the timer situation is certainly not ideal, if you guys are at least looking forward to Scarlet and Violet competitive, leave a like below. And if you don't like the timer, consider switching to doubles. Doubles was never fucked by this timer last gen, and I don't think it'll be a big deal this gen. I think we'll have a great time over there, so if you want to join me in doubles as well, I'll be uploading both types of battles, and I look forward to seeing you guys in that. Shout out to channel members, of course, being Zeke0, Josh JK Ultra Player, and Mia. You guys, your support goes a great extra mile. And if you want to support the channel, a couple dollars a month with the join button. Also, staying up to date on future content with the subscribe button, as well as the Twitter and Discord. All great ways to do that. With that said, though, I'll see you guys later with hopefully a better video for tomorrow. One that's at least a little less doom and gloom. Until then, peace out, guys.